The Ankor Pro is a versatile cable system that's easily moved around your home gym and your power rack. However, when I looked into it, a lot of home gym owners had the same types of criticisms of the Ankor. So I figured when they offered to send me one for review, I'd check it out myself and I'd address all those criticisms. So in this video, you can expect to see each criticism addressed, and then by the end of the video, I'll give you my best take on what home gym owners would be best to use this system and which ones should probably avoid it. If this is your first time watching my channel at VintageWeightsPGH, I like to review gym equipment and dive into the strength history behind it. Please consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. Now back to the Ankor Pro. Shipping was phenomenal. This box came inside of another box, and you'll see that the foam die cut perfectly fits the 55-pound set. That's the standard set that also comes with a strap mount and a handle. These resistance pucks, I call them pucks because, you know, I'm a big Pittsburgh Penguins fan. The resistance discs, I guess they call them. They have 10s and 5s labeled on there, as well as an L or an R for left or right. They easily twist on and off the system, and I find that if you just kind of start it backwards and then roll forwards, it's the easiest way to apply them. They can easily stack onto each other as long as you have the right side, left or right. Doesn't matter whether you go 10-5-10 or 10-10-5. Doesn't matter whether you stack them all on one side or whether you distribute them equally. There's a lot of ease of use when it comes to that. So then what are the criticisms? Let's start with quality. I saw some people questioning the quality of the Ankor system for various reasons, and it'd be best if I just put it on the rack and showed you some of the features. So the system is mostly made of a hard plastic. This is distributed to over 100 professional teams. They have partnerships with over 100 professional teams, every NHL team. So this goes on the road. This is something that is widely used by trainers. If you want to see a good video about that perspective, check out the Kurt Locker. He speaks to it from the like the training side of things. I'm more of the home gym perspective for this video. And I've got to say the plastic more than holds up. It's not a cheap plastic. It's gonna like break when you drop it. And there's a 2-year warranty that comes with it. It's got a metal face, which makes sense, as well as these rollers. Now it is important that you orient it vertically or horizontally on the mount, depending on what you're doing, so that you pull against the rollers and not against just the bare face plate. That will prolong the life of the cord. Now that's a criticism too, is that the cord is not steel. It's this kind of like paracord. There's some very scientific technical name that I forget right now for it, but essentially it's a super strong cord. I have not had any fraying or any type of problems with the cord in the last 4 to 5 months that I've been using this system, nor do I see any potentially in the near future. That comes with a 1-year warranty, but here's the cool thing. I spoke to Mike from Ankor and I said, look man, like what happens if one of my kids does something to this cord, it snaps, and it's like a $30 to $35 charge to send it back and get it replaced. So that's pretty cool. Very low replacement fee in terms of the cord. So then the other thing that would be a quality type criticism might be the handle that comes with it. This is a rubber handle and it's a nylon strap. It'd be nice if this was like, you know, a knurled handle, something like that. But I gotta say, it is well made. I think it has like a steel insert and it gets the job done if you don't have anything else to suitably use. When it comes to the mount, that's the weakness, in my opinion, with the standard set or the plus set, is that the mount is great for travel, for training, for putting this onto a tree or something crazy, putting this onto a field goal post or something when you're out doing your athletic training. But here in a home gym, having to Velcro and unvelcro to move this around is a little less ideal than what we're used to in a home gym. It still works, and I mean, it's solidly on there. Plus it comes with this sort of safety loop, if you will. So if you're not feeling too safe and thinking that the Velcro is going to come undone as you're pulling this at your face, then you can feel safe that the anchor is not going to fly off and hit you in the face. That would be catastrophic failure, not a typical failure. What is a nice add-on, and it is an add-on, so this is about $699 for the standard set, but for $140 you can go to Darko Lifting and get this mount. The Darko Quick Mount features a 1" and 5/8" hole, so it doesn't matter what type of rack you have. It's got UMHW to protect your rack, and it's got the exact mount that you need for the Ankor. So let me show you this. So the Darko Quick Mount applies with the same pin that you would put this on, whether you're going horizontally or vertically. And once you get it on there, it doesn't wrap all the way around like a trolley. It's just a mag pin that you would put in here to apply it to your rack. And then this feels quite stable. And in terms of moving this around your rack, when I take it off, it's actually tight enough on this Rogue RML 490 rack that it's just staying there, but you can slide it down and remove it if you want and put it up onto a high cross member. Or in terms of moving it on the rack, it's kind of neat that as long as you're holding it firmly, you don't even have to take it completely off to move it up and down. It's sort of like a trolley that it's going to slide up and down your rack, and with the UMHW, no big deal. It's not going to hurt anything, and you can just adjust the height of your Ankor Pro. So for $140, and you can save a little money with code VINTAGE, the Darko lifting mount I think is a necessary add-on to the Ankor Pro. You just have to shop for it over at Darko Lifting after buying your Ankor Pro. Now, what's another criticism? Well, it would just be the feel, the pull on this, because if you look to my right, you'll see I'm no stranger to bands. I've got quite a few bands, and a lot of people say, oh, you know, pay all that money for this and it's just like a band. You might as well just go get some bands. Well, let's measure that. Let's see what that's like. So the Ankor Pro comes with an 8-foot cord. And when you pull on it, it is light to start. Like these 10 and 10, 20-pound discs I have on here, I'm just pretty easily moving. And then I measured with my little crane scale here, and I found that you have to get out to about 4 feet, about midway through the cord, to get the full resistance. So you've just got to think through that. That is a criticism, and that, depending on the way that you're using it, can be annoying. So if I'm using this purely for slow, conventional lifting, I'm not doing dynamic type movements, I'm not doing like, you know, these ballistic, crazy chop movements, then I've just got to think through it that even if I'm doing tricep pushdowns, I shouldn't just put it right here. I should put the Ankor all the way up on my rack. That way I'm going to be about 4 feet down whenever I'm doing my tricep pushdowns. So in terms of doing your movements, think through where you place it, and it's a non-issue. As far as those dynamic movements, that's where this really kind of is a strength, having this varied resistance to an extent, is that you can do fast ballistic type movements. You can take this and come out real quick with it, and you're not flying around. Can you imagine doing the movements I just did that quickly with a trolley and like a plate loaded or a weight stack? I mean, you could, but man, is it gonna be noisy, and you're gonna have weights flying around everywhere. Now, I don't even know what that exercise would be that I just did. I'm just moving things really fast. I did do some chops though. That was my favorite, some twists. I really liked, you know, the core kind of work of turning with it. So I like the versatility there, that you can move fast, or you can just do a traditional lift and do something like a tricep kickback if you wanted to. But if I was doing that, I would step back about 4 feet to get the full resistance. One of the biggest criticisms that I read quite a bit would be that there's just not enough resistance. The standard set for $700 only gets you 55 pounds of those resistance discs. Yes, if you think through what you lift, doing things like rows, doing things like lat pull downs, 55 pounds just isn't going to cut it. So in a home gym environment, if this was your only cable system, oh geez, you're going to have to step it up. And it's about $100 for pairs of 10-pound pucks that you can add on. With that said, there's some type of suggestion not to go over 75 pounds, I think, with this. However, I used it well up into 90 pounds. Ankor sent me the 65-pound plus set, plus extra discs. So I had a whole bunch of discs floating around my gym. I put them on the bottom cross member of my rack to store them, but Ancore does sell like a nice little storage solution if you want. I'm sure you could DIY something for your different pucks. Where I'm going with this in terms of resistance is that the most that I could load on here was 90 pounds with what I had. I've seen the same videos that you have where someone loops it around a certain way, but I don't got time for that. So really 90 pounds was more than enough for me to do 99% of the things I wanted to do with this. It was really just rows and lat pull downs. Those are the two main movements that just weren't getting the job done. Rows, I satisfied that by moving back. So I was able to move way back and plant my feet and still get some rows done that were substantial. Now, were they the heaviest rows ever? No, they were about, I'd say 100 to 110 pounds. So I was doing high reps. And then being the average kind of lifter that I am, I put this on the top rack and I tried to do some pull downs. To get further away for pull downs, the furthest away I could get was by sitting on the floor. So sitting on the bench, it was about 60 to 80 pounds of resistance from the top of where I started pulling to the bottom. And then sitting on the floor, it was 70 to 90 pounds of resistance in terms of the top of the pull to the bottom. That's enough for me if I'm doing high reps, like sets from 15 to 20 and really extending the negative, really flexing at the bottom and pausing. But is it something I normally do for pull downs? No, I'm usually like 125 to 150 for pull downs, and I'm strapping in so that I don't lift up off the floor. So that's where you really have to ask yourself, how badly do you like lat pull downs if this is going to be your only cable system? And do you care about super heavy lat pull downs? It is one exercise versus a litany of other exercises though. So that's where I think this criticism does get a little overblown. But the comparison with the resistance criticism that I see most often is with the Voltra. So we live in a day and age where I'm making these videos on a phone that I carry around the rest of the day, and we have technology where there's movable systems like this, cable systems, that are electronic, that the digital resistance is much more than what you can get with the Ankor Pro. The Voltra is like 200 some pounds. There's this new system that advertises 500 pounds, plus the smaller, cheaper systems for like 200 bucks. The Ryofi, I think it's called, and the Hive, they're like 50 or 60 pounds. What I'm getting to is there's some breakage that could happen with those digital resistance systems. Plus you have the beep boop boop of the screen, and maybe the screen just doesn't light up when you go to train because the battery's dead. So that's the advantage here. That's where I will cite, even as a home gym owner, the strength of the Ankor Pro being something readily recognizable if you think about the pro teams using it. You don't need a battery. You don't need any type of programmed screen or anything. You just grab it and go. You put the resistance on that you want on there and you pull. Now you could say that about digital resistance, but to get a solid quality one, you're talking at least twice as much as this. So what I'm referring to is the Voltra, and I've only used the Voltra in passing at home gym con. I've never used it at great length. But what I do know is that it's up over $2,000, and that's not counting extra mounts and things that you might want. So even with the Ankor Pro being, $800 for the Plus, that gets you an extra set of 10s and another 140 at Darko lifting for the nice mount for your rack, you're still coming in at less than 50% than a Voltra. So that's where you start to weigh all these criticisms together and find what's best for your home gym. Now let's roll into that last criticism. So the final criticism to address would be price, because this retails for $699 for the standard set with 55 pounds of resistance. I gotta say, that's a major investment for your home gym. You can get a little tiny cable pulley type system on Amazon for 40 bucks that's gonna swing around and bash into your walls and possibly you. You can go out there and for less than, 700 bucks, you can get yourself a plate-loaded functional trainer or plate-loaded dual pulley system for your rack, that's for sure. But in terms of quality, I don't know the quality of those systems, and you're certainly not going to get a good quality weight stack system in terms of a cable system, and that's where I think the Ankor Pro starts to become a good option for some people. If you really care deeply about a heavy row and a heavy lat pull down, it's not the system for you. If you really care deeply about getting a dual cable system for your rack, or having some type of super heavy loaded system with a weight stack, for example, then it's not for you. This is a versatile, movable system that you're going to move around your rack. They also, by the way, sell $30 wall mounts. I think that's pretty cool. I might pick up a couple of those so that I can put a wall mount like over there in my gym, put one over there, and that way I can just leave this Darko mount on my rack, and then if I want to move around the gym, I move around the gym. So that's where this is a good option if you are looking for the versatility of ballistic, really fast movements and slow movements that are more traditional lifting in a home gym. This is good for the home gym owner that wants to easily move the entire system around their small home gym. So I have a relatively small home gym. I don't have room for a functional trainer. So to be able to put this over there is a nice option. And this is a great option for someone that just wants simplicity. You don't want a whole lot of beep, boop, boop. You'd rather have just put the pucks on there and get your lifts done. That's why I think it's so popular with pro teams. It's simple, it's effective, it's durable, and it's versatile. So I don't think the Ankor Pro is for everybody, but I do think some home gym owners would benefit from this system. And if that's you, please consider using code VINTAGE when you shop at Ankor, because you'll save $60 off your purchase. You can also save some money at Darko Lifting with code VINTAGE if you go to buy the quick mount. Thanks so much for watching, and wait a minute, I almost forgot. This is VintageWeightsPGH. We got to talk about the history. In the fine region of New England, there exists a YouTube channel called No Fate, and that's Jonathan, and he did a tour of Ankor, so if you want the history of Ankor, check out that video. I'll drop a link in the description. I'm going to go a little further back in history and tell you about another New England company way before Ankor that was putting out exercise equipment, and that's the Narragansett Machine Company. I think I'm pronouncing that right. If not, drop a comment and let me know. They were around in the late 1800s to 1900s, and they made lathes and all kinds of machines, but then they got into exercise equipment. And if you check it out, you'll see in these various pictures from an old catalog. When I say old, 1905. That's right, 120-year-old catalog. They had cable pulley systems of different designs. They had all kinds of exercise machines for a variety of movements that they were marketing and that they became quite popular for. And they were in business all the way up until the 1960s. So Ankor has been around for a couple years now, but they are far from the first in New England to make some high quality exercise machines, and they have a great heritage to continue on in their region for a cable system. Once again, if you enjoy VintageWeightsPGH, show some love by shopping through the affiliate links in my description and by using code VINTAGE to save at both Ankor and Darko Lifting. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate the support.